welcome to today's webinar. I'm so excited that you're here to join us. My name is Ashley Jones, and I'm here with Patients Like Me, and I'm thrilled to bring a very important topic to you. Rare is common. I am honored today to be speaking with Sara Riordan. She's the Vice President of Strategy at Genome Medical, and Sara brings a wealth of knowledge and experience, personally and professionally, about rare diseases. So without further ado, I just want to bring Sara in because I think that you're going to be very excited to talk to her. Sara, welcome. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you, Ashley. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Really, really pleased that you're willing to join us. I have a couple of overall questions. I love the partnership between Patients Like Me and Genome Medical. And I understand why it makes so much sense, because we at Patients Like Me really want to make sure that our patients are advocates for their own health journey. And I feel like Genome Medical is here to help advocate that.
Yeah, Genome Medical is a telehealth genetics practice. And so we provide genetic counseling, we can facilitate genetic testing, we can provide education, and we do this for patients all from the comfort of their own homes. So you can see a genetic counselor by telemedicine and really have that great experience of getting that education and the testing if you need it, just in that really convenient way.
I'm curious. So we're talking, this is kind of a term that's coming up a lot lately in the zeitgeist in our communities. When I'm watching different television shows, what do we mean when we say rare disease? Because can you explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so rare disease is defined as affecting less than 200,000 people at any one time. So individually, these diseases are not common, right? They're rare, and each disease affects a small amount of people. However, there are more than 7,000 rare diseases, and so collectively, they affect over 300 million people worldwide. And so 1 in 10 people have a rare disease. So it's really collectively a lot more common than we think.
When I first spoke to you and we were chatting about this, you gave me an amazing metaphor about an airplane. Can you share that with our audience?
Yes. Well, I'm a genetic counselor, and genetic counselors, we love analogies because it helps.
And they stick with you.
Yeah. It helps us explain concepts, right?
And later, after I got a chance to talk to you, I was talking to a friend that has a rare disease, and I used this analogy metaphor. So it's not a metaphor, it's an analogy. So please share.
Yeah. So when we think about 1 in 10 people being affected by a rare disease, if you imagine yourself on an airplane, airplanes have 150 people on board, right? That means 15 people on that airplane have a rare disease. And so you're likely sitting next to someone with a rare disease. So they really are much more common. And when we think about the web of human connection, all of us know someone with a rare disease, or multiple people with a rare disease, a colleague, a neighbor, a friend, a family member.
I know quite a few people, actually, and have learned a lot about it because I care and love them, and learned about how we can raise awareness, how we can raise funds for research. I've gone to many events for my personal connection is through EB and the EB research team. And I know you also have a personal connection that I would love to talk about if you're comfortable with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Rare disease definitely inspired my career choice. So I had a sister that was born with a rare chromosome disorder, and she unfortunately only lived about a year. She had a lot of really significant medical issues. And even though I was young at the time, I really saw the struggles that my parents and my broader family went through. This was in the early 1980s. There really weren't very many genetic counselors at that time. And so my parents didn't have anyone to talk to explain what this meant. They were worried, could this happen again? When my mom got pregnant with my brother several years later, she was terrified for the first half of her pregnancy until she got an amniocentesis and she saw a really wonderful doctor who, still not a genetic counselor, there still weren't very many genetic counselors at that time, but she saw a wonderful doctor who was able to explain that, everything was fine with this pregnancy. But that experience of seeing my parents really just live in fear and guilt, wondering if this was their fault. A lot of families go through that. So that really inspired me to enter the field of genetics and ultimately become a genetic counselor, because I wanted to make sure that other families wouldn't have to go through that type of experience and have more education and support through the process.
I see why you went into the career path you went into. Can you tell us if there's been anything I'm sure you've had some really fruitful things that have happened and some really powerful things that have happened. Can you give us any examples of something that's happened recently where this knowledge is power is, like, you mentioned clinical trials to me. Can you just explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah, over my career as a genetic counselor, it's been really exciting to see some of the developments in therapies because
Your sister, because that was a while ago, so I'm sure
yeah. There's just been so much scientific discovery and understanding of genetic diseases, and now there are therapies being developed to specifically treat genetic disease. And one of the most rewarding things that we do at Genome Medical is we can connect our patients to clinical trials that they may be eligible for based on their genetics. And so I can think of one patient who we saw a few years ago. She actually already had a diagnosis based on her clinical symptoms, but she came to us and she said, I want genetic testing because if I have a genetic test result, then when a clinical trial comes along, I could be potentially eligible for a trial, and I want to be trial ready. And so we facilitated that genetic testing. And now, several years later, guess what? There is a trial that she is eligible for. And we were able to reach out to her and let her know that she is now eligible for a trial and then connect her to the trial. So that is, as a genetic counselor, those kind of professional experiences are just so amazing and impactful and rewarding.
It gets me a little emotional. I had a similar experience with my dear friend of mine that has EB. He was able to do a clinical trial recently. He had to travel with his mom and go up north for this trial, and he was so excited to be a part of it and be a part of the research and the cure. That's what we talk about, the cure. So these clinical trials can lead to all of that kind of stuff. So I just think what Genome Medical is doing is phenomenal. What people, unless you're going through it, what people may not be able to understand is how it affects the families. It doesn't just affect the individual. It affects loved ones. It affects finances. It affects the entire family community, which you just gave us a great example of how terrified the parents can be and what happens with the next child, what happened with you. You were already born. It affects the dynamics in the household, especially if, they're older. And that's one of the things that I think that Genome Medical can really help guide. Am I right?
Yeah. One of the things we do is help entire families navigate a diagnosis. So someone can come to us, they have questions, they have concerns. We can talk to them and help identify if there is potentially a genetic cause to their symptoms. And if genetic testing is medically appropriate, we can help facilitate ordering that genetic test. The testing kit can be sent to the home. It's just a saliva test, and then the results gets sent back to the laboratory. And then when results come back, we can see that patient and family again and explain what those results mean. And sometimes this can affect entire families, right? Because genetic conditions run in families. So if there are other members of the family that also need testing, we can help support that. Again, it's telemedicine, so it doesn't matter where those other family members live. We can still see them and provide that extended family support.
Unbelievable service you're offering. It really is incredible. One of the things that what I think is so amazing, when I honestly, I was pregnant with my son about 9 years ago, and even then, there weren't genetic counselors. I was a geriatric pregnancy, and we had to get some testing done for genetic purposes. But there was no one for me to talk to. I remember being terrified and scared and waiting for results. And so we've come a long way in a short period of time, or at least I didn't know that that was available to me. And now that it's here, I really hope that people will take advantage of the services that you guys are offering and want to. It's so incredibly helpful. Speaking of that, so you talked about what would be something, how would someone go about getting access to these services you're offering? What would be the first step? Can you walk us through it if someone just feels really alone and isolated right now, and how they would start this process?
Well, I do always encourage people to speak with their doctor first, and start there, right? If you have concerns, I think the issue is, as you just described, Ashley, it may be that locally you're not able to see a genetic counselor, right? And so, or maybe your doctor doesn't have all of the answers for you, and so then if you start with your doctor and you're not really able to connect and find the answers you need, then telemedicine services like Genome Medical are available. And we've teamed up with Patients Like Me, where you can go and access and schedule a genetic counseling appointment online. It's very easy. And then you can have your consult by telephone, have the genetic counselor evaluate your medical history. We talk with you about whether genetic testing is appropriate for you, you can make that decision whether you want genetic testing. And then, as I described, it's just getting that kit sent to your home. Very easy.
It's so incredibly accessible nowadays, which is one of the beauties of modern technology. I have a question. It's a little... does anything have to do with these kind of rare diseases? Are they embedded in, are you born in the way, let me say a better way. Is there any, if you have a baby later in life, because I know a lot of my friends had this question. If you have a baby later in life, does that affect anything about having a child with a rare disease, or is that something that's already in the DNA that would come out?
That's a really good question. There are some types of genetic diseases that are more likely to occur as we get older. And so women who, you said you had a geriatric pregnancy.
By the way, that was almost 10 years ago. And I'm not too shy about saying this. I still want another child, and I froze my eggs, but it is a thing that comes up in conversations with my doctors. And I didn't understand much until I was able to speak to you. Can a rare disease, can age affect that?
Yeah, and there are some rare diseases where it does, particularly disorders of chromosomes, because as we age, our eggs age too, and the genetic material can age. And so there are some conditions, yes, and there's testing available for that, right? There are other diseases, genetic diseases, where the genetic change is in the DNA, and that is passed on or can be passed on, and it doesn't matter how old you are. And, I'll take us back to high school biology for a little bit, because diseases can pass through families in different ways. But there are some genetic diseases our genes exist in pairs, right? And so we inherit one set of our genes from each parent. And so there are some diseases where you have to inherit both copies, one from each parent, to actually have the disease. And so that's a disease like cystic fibrosis, for example, which I think a lot of people have heard of. And so during pregnancy, we are offered carrier testing to see if we are a carrier for that condition. And then if we are, then the partner can also be tested as well. There are other types of genetic diseases that where you only need one copy of the faulty gene to have the condition. So in those types of diseases, we see them really, and it's a 50% chance whether you'll inherit that faulty gene from that parent. So these conditions we can see really running throughout generations in families. And so one example of that is the breast cancer genes, BRCA1 and BRCA2, could run through families like that. And that is not dependent on age, right? Yeah.
That's a test that I've thought about taking. I know a lot of people do take it early so that they understand. And then you have options of ways that you can handle that. So that's what I think is so important about what you guys offer, is the counseling aspect. So you're not just left alone with these decisions or these outcomes. You have someone to talk to figure out the best way to handle it for your family.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, knowledge is power, right? And so one of the reasons that genetic testing can be so important is that it can help you have a diagnosis, and that can lead to treatment. And so it actually can take up to 5 years on average for someone with a rare disease to get a diagnosis. And so during that time, they're just left with a lot of questions, right? What's going wrong with me? What's wrong with my child? And so just getting a diagnosis is so important because it's answers, right? That provides a lot of relief. It allows you to connect with other families that might be going through something similar. And that sense of community is so important. And it can lead to precision treatments, because if we understand the genetic cause of a disease, there are a lot of emerging gene therapies that can actually replace or fix that faulty gene. And so knowing the genetic basis of your disease is really important because it can lead to treatment or participation in clinical trials.
Wow. This is incredibly important for people to understand, and also to just please be an advocate for yourself. If you have something going on and you suspect something, get tested, see what's out there, see what you can do. I love that Patients Like Me is partnering with Genome Medical to give all of this knowledge to anyone that needs it, and really, really encouraging people to empower themselves. Empower yourself about a loved one, and or if this is a personal experience you're going through, we're here to help you and guide you through this. I really, really appreciate you joining us today. And before I close, is there anything else that you would want to share with people that are going through this, because I know that people that watch to the bitter end of these kind of webinars, they're here for a reason and they need a sense of hope. And I love what you just gave us, because I think there is hope. And I know there's hope in numbers, there's hope in community, there's hope in knowledge. And you're offering that. I just thank you for your service that you're doing for so many people.
Yeah, and I just really appreciate this conversation, Ashley. I think, we want people to be able to access the services, the testing, the education, and the information that they need, right? And so I just encourage everyone to be an advocate for yourself, and also be an advocate for others.
Sara, thank you so much for everything that you've done for us today. You're sharing your professional expertise, your personal expertise. I love what you said about what Patients Like Me offers us. Knowledge is power, and we want you to be an advocate for your own health journey. If anything in this conversation, and we're so glad you're still here with us right now, but if anything sparks something in you, I really encourage you to go to the link below, because you can sign up at Patients Like Me and get connected with Genome Medical, and you'll be connected to genetic counselors and a plethora of information that will really help you through this whole health journey. There's other things on Patients Like Me that are really, really, really useful. So you or someone you love could really, really take advantage of these services they offer. I just want to end this whole conversation by thanking Sara and saying that rare is actually quite common, and no one should have to go through this journey alone. We're here as a community to help you.